Welcome back to the U.S. Carb Clinic. This is Dr. Hugh, H-E-W, and we welcome you back to our broadcast this Tuesday. Actually, it's almost Wednesday now. We're kind of like 15 minutes late, but hey, 3-day weekend. What can I say? You know, the crew goes out, they don't come back. So, but we're doing all right now. We're firing on all cylinders, so to speak. By the way, if you like our show, please share us with your friends. They may have questions about generators or anything carburation related. That's why it really is a carb clinic, not so much a tri-fuel clinic. It's more about carburation, which of course we know is the introduction of air and fuel into an engine. So today we're starting out with Dr. Hugh's views, is that right? Or are you going to, what are we going to? I don't see it on my cue card.
Dr. Hugh debunks internet junk.
Oh, debunk the junk. I like that. All right, today's debunk the junk is actually one of our viewers' Facebook questions from last week. And that was about converting to alternative fuel. You know, the experts will tell you it will burn up the valves. Now, previously on the show, we had a visitor, our 6600 Yamaha in our lobby. And we showed you the engine meter on that, which is a true blue engine meter. And I believe the episode on YouTube, we need to check that. I've said that before. I'm thinking it was down around 3,000-4,000 hours. But if you'll notice, that is 6,753 hours. And we use the rule of thumb of 1 hour, 70 miles per hour. So if you just round that off 6 times 7, that's 400,000 miles that little one-cylinder engine ran. And I did the math one time, every time it opened and closed. But anyway, the valves, you know, the customer, it stopped running and he brought it in and we just bought it back from him because that was our original U.S. Carburetion generator. So out of nostalgia and the fact that it had that engine meter, to us that was gold to have that to show people that has 400,000 miles on it, so to speak. So the valves, even like right now, if they're burned up on gasoline, that would have happened, who knows how many thousands of hours back. So this to me just really debunks, you know, that expert opinion that it'll burn up the valves. Now, what happens is, and I mentioned this before, a lot of that stuff carries over from way back. For instance, using the speed signs around curves. If you have a decent vehicle today with struts, you can take the curves that say 35. I'm not telling you to do this. Don't do this at home. Only trained professionals should never exceed the speed limit. That's Dr. Hugh's advice to you. But I have actually caught myself, there you go, I caught myself doing 45, 50 miles an hour on a 35 mile an hour curve and not realizing it. And I got to thinking, you know, a lot of those signs are probably still based on the 40s and 50s cars. When you go to turn a curve and the car almost roll over, or you had bias ply tires and they about go flat on you, or they would roll under, see? So the point being, sometimes we get stuck with those numbers and they carry on for just about forever. As a matter of fact, in my home I have 7 toilets flushing. I have 6 French doors opening. But anyway, 7 toilets flushing. I have 1 vent through the roof. In 10 years, never had an issue. Why? Well, the plumbing codes still, from what I can see, are based on the 5 to 7 gallon flushing toilets. So now they're down to 1.5 gallons, 1.25 gallons. So anyway, point being, old info can carry on for decades. And so when it comes to burning up valves, back in the 70s when the gas crunch and all that, people were just jumping on the propane. And what would happen is they would take a leaded car, a car meant for leaded fuel, and convert it to propane. And it ran fine for a while and then the valves burned up. Why? Well, just like you can't put unleaded fuel into a car for leaded, just like a tractor or anything. If you have an old 40s or 50s tractor that's meant for leaded fuel, you know, you shouldn't use unleaded, right? Well, the same principle applies for propane, natural gas. Don't use it on a machine designed for lead because the valves rotate and they'll overheat and burn. So anyway, we debunked the junk this week with no, it will not burn up your valves. It actually helps your motor, keeps it clean. All right, so what's after the junk? We are doing, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention, please, this is all about you guys, sending us a text, typing in your comments, asking a question. And if not, we're going to go on to some questions probably that we had left over from last week, which that was one of them. One of the viewers asked, will running propane, natural gas burn up my valves on Facebook? So I believe that was a gentleman named Blaine. Did he have a second question? I thought he had 2 questions. No?
Did have a couple, Dr. Hugh, but I don't have them right here.
Oh, okay.
So really our production team, we're going to save that one in our pocket for a future episode.
Oh, okay. All right. We'll come back to those on another episode. All right. So we're going to the mailbox.
Sure thing. We'll go to the customer mailbox now.
All right. We're going to the chart. All right. So are you reading these or am I reading these?
I'll go ahead and read them, Dr. Hugh.
You just want to be on the air. That's cool. Share the love, baby. Go ahead.
Okay.
We're listening.
This question came in by email. It's kind of lengthy. So the customer says he has a motor, so I may paraphrase a bit.
Yeah,
The
please.
customer says he has a motor snorkel installed on a Honda EU 6500, and he's using 2 propane cylinders as fuel, and when he's not using gasoline. He says sometimes the setup runs fine, but when he applies a moderate load to the generator when using propane, the generator immediately shut off. So we put some gasoline, the generator ran normally, and the customer goes on to say here, one moment.
And on. All right. It says,
So he says, this may be a dumb question, but how do I apply a load to the generator if it shuts down right away? Is there a way to simulate load when adjusting the load block? So really the thrust of the question, Dr. Hugh, is what should he do if he's running fine in one instance, and then he comes back running on propane and he's having this situation where it's not running at all. So.
okay. So I know you've been sworn in, and I have read your complaint. So let me just say, there's a few questions I have. One, the setup, at one point he says the setup runs fine. Now, I don't know if he meant the setup ran fine on propane, but now, today, when I applied a moderate load, the generator, when using propane, immediately shut off. All right. My first thought there would be, what has changed since the last time it ran fine? Different cylinders. Of course, we know that if you mix, you can have one cylinder from that was on the other setup, and you switched out to another one that has some air in it. It's going to adjust the mixture. We forgot to do the chime. So forget to do the mixture. So the mixture would have to be reset or get a cylinder on there without any air in it. Okay, so that would be my first concern, would be that different cylinders were used. Now, if it was the same cylinders, that would be a whole different ball game. Most likely load block adjustment. Now, we appreciate you reading the instruction manual. We often get people who don't do that. So you say you apply an electrical load similar to the maximum load the generator will be operating under as part of the setup. So your question boils down to, how do you apply a load and not have it shut down? And so the answer would be, you have to ramp up. Let's go over to the load bank. Take that. Yeah, there you go. All right. You see on the load bank, we have, this has switches that take you, we can do a 12, 15K generator on this one. So what we do when we're setting the load block on a unit, we'll start off here with the lowest, 1200 watts. If it's a 7,000 watt generator, we'll throw 1200 on it, run it to the rich side immediately. All right, so you run it lean, stumbles, start running it a little rich, and hold it. And then we'll take the 24. Usually it doesn't change, but you can tweak it. We're always watching frequency on this one. Frequency is a beautiful feedback. And so depending on the size of the generator, we go from there. And then finally we have our adjustable load, which this one will go up to 12. So on this one, if you had, you can see that's 48 plus 12 is 6,000. So if you had a 66, you then flip this on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and then you'll start, you can't usually get past that on the 66. So that's what we do, we ramp up. Now, once you do that, wherever that load block is set, that should be it. You shouldn't have to worry about it anymore unless you change fuel supplies. If you change cylinders, you always have to reset the load block. So I believe that answered that. Is that true? Let me see. And by the way, that was not a dumb question. That was a very good question. Because sometimes when instructions are written, we assume certain things without checking. Yes, you got an inbound question?
Dr. Hugh, I was just going to advocate on the customer's behalf that asked the question. Assuming the customer doesn't have a load bank like we have here in our shop, what would be his procedure for ramping up the test?
Well, hair dryers are the greatest. If you can collect some at yard sales and stuff, that's an excellent thing to do. 1,800 watts is a hair dryer. You can do 1,800. Half of that, 900 watts. Start with that. Flip switch 18. Start working your way up. So that would be the recommendation. Or if you have it hooked to your house system in some way, bring on the smallest device first, microwave, coffee pot, whatever, and then start working it from there. You may need some teamwork on that. But yes, just bring up the smallest equipment first until you get your mixture set correctly on the load bank, on the load block calibrator, and you'll be good to go from there.
Okay, Doctor, you're moving on to the second customer question. And this one, the customer says he has a complete motor snorkel kit that he's just getting around to installing. The problem is the motor snorkel part doesn't fit my carburetor.
All right. First of all, we'd want to make sure that's going on the correct direction. If that's true, there's a couple things that, one question I'd have is how old is the kit that you purchased? Some customers get the system from us and don't put it on for years, so things may have changed in that amount of time. Sometimes manufacturers with the same model number basically will change the motor and not even tell us. We're like, hey, at least let a guy know, you changed the motor out. And so we've had to bring in, a dozen or two because the manufacturer changed the motor without informing us. So absolutely, it's not a problem if that happens, or it could be a glitch in our system. It could have been a Friday at 4 o'clock and, wrong box got in the wrong package. So absolutely, let us know. We'll take care of it. We'll get you the right one out. We may ask you to verify the center to center on the carburetor bolts just to make sure. We'd love to have a picture. A picture is worth 1,000 emails. So if you can send us a picture of it, that'd be great. We'd love to see that. But if not, this is very rare anymore. We used to get this a lot, but hardly ever now. So we'll fix you up no matter what.
Hey, Dr. Hugh, just a point of clarification. Could you demonstrate on the carburetor that we have here in the studio how to get the center-to-center measurement?
Sure. If I had a device that would measure center-to-center, but I guess I don't need it. I can just show you. You would, between these 2 points right here, from here to here, you run your tape from there to there, preferably a ruler, something with some good calibrated numbers for, and we love millimeter. If you can do millimeters, that's the best because it's more accurate, but it's up to you. But either way, burn the first inch or the first centimeter on your, and when I say burn, I mean don't go, everyone tries to go to the very end of the ruler or the tape measure. Just go an inch over and then, or 10 millimeters, and then run your to the other center here. And we really don't need a picture of that because it never looks right. The picture never looks right of a center-to-center measurement. And I think my tech will agree to that, because any angle whatsoever, it can change it 2-3 millimeters. So we'll believe you. If you say, hey, I'll put this on there and I got 55 millimeters, we'll go with that. And we'll know right away, because we'll match it up to what we have. But if we also have the picture, now you'll notice that one, the bolts for the carburetor are offset. So that's a telltale sign for us as well. And a lot of times we just see the carburetor, we know what it is, So, oh, you were going to show that? Yeah. You see how this bolt is what we call 10 o'clock, and that's at 4 o'clock, basically. 3:30, 4 o'clock, if you're using the clock dial. So anyway, those are telltale signs for us to see what carburetor it really should have or did have. Okay? Is that good? Did we get that one? I think we had one more. I lost it. Oh, there it is.
Final question, Dr. Hugh. The customer says, this one actually is from GL. GL says, I am in need of a wireless remote start for a Honda EX4500 generator. Do you sell such an item?
Absolutely. Now, again, this question is a little ambiguous. I am in the need for a wireless remote start kit for this Honda, but is it for propane use, gasoline use, both? That would be an important factor in determining. But either way, yes, we have the ability to wirelessly remote start any engine that's set up for electric starting. Now, we've had customers order a wireless remote start kit for their pull start generator. That just doesn't work well, and you need someone out there to pull it. So we also have a generator start control module that will start the generator automatically, and I keep saying that we're going to have an episode coming up about making any electric start generator a standby generator. It'll do everything a standby generator will do. It'll exercise once a week. Love that weed eater out there. That's pretty cool. But yeah, it'll exercise. It'll start and stop it automatically when the power goes off, comes on, respectively, and shut down if engine oil gets low. So yes, we can definitely supply you any of that. Now on gasoline, if it's just for gasoline for remote start, we'll have to entertain how to do the choke, and that's more than we can explain right here. So we can talk to that through email or over the phone. So yes, either way, we can definitely help you with remote starting any gasoline or propane, natural gas, 4-cycle, electric start generator. You can even electric remote start your lawnmower if you wanted, but I don't see the benefit of that. All right. That's it for those, isn't it?
That's it for our customer questions. So I wanted to revisit our quick installation overview for those of us that are watching today that haven't seen the previous demonstration of how to install motor snorkel.
Oh, you're talking, yeah. That's so we have stock footage of basic installation. As a matter of fact, it's of a Westinghouse. So roll tape. All right. So the motor snorkel kits are started by removing the OEM air filter assembly, and sometimes they have lower mounting bolts and supports. So those are all taken off. Now we've removed this completely so you can see the face of the carburetor, and now we slide the snorkel over the studs and make sure the probe is down past the choke plate, and of course the choke would have to be open. Whew. And after all that, we put the air filter back, and that engine is now prepped for tri-fuel operation. The motor itself is ready to accept propane, natural gas, and still use gasoline. And that's it. Other than mounting the engine regulator, in this case, you pick a spot on the machine, drill holes that are about 6 inches apart. This tech uses a template, which is a nice idea, but if you're only doing one, you can mark it. And then, yeah, don't drill through the gas tank. Use only a 1/4 inch drill bit, yes. So we always had the techs remove 2 bolts and lift the tank just to be sure, stick a 2x under it or something, because you just hate to slip and go through the gas tank. So here we are, just putting the pieces on the calibrator, sliding the bolts through, and putting and all that's in the system when you purchase it, and then angle the calibrator towards the snorkel, and then a piece of hose puts the engine meter, the engine regulator will then be connected to the snorkel, and it's ready to run. You just add your gas lines and go. So that's as easy as it is. The easiest kit on earth. Doesn't get any simpler than that. And go ahead.
It's not really a question, but we do have a comment over on Facebook from Wayne, and he says he has the propane kit on his generator, and it's great.
Cool. Yeah. It is wild. I mean, when we first came out with the snorkel, it was just amazing how you could just take that device, and people think it's simplistic, but it's not. It is a very sophisticated design, proprietary to the nth degree, and it is an amazing product. When we thank you, Wayne, for letting us know that, it's always good to hear the good. You hear the bad when real easy, but the good comes a little more difficult. So we appreciate that, Wayne, and thanks for listening in. And I hope, Wayne, you're telling your other friends, the rule of 270, you should have at least 270 friends you could tell. Now, you don't have to do that, but we'd really appreciate it. And also like us. I like that finger comes up there. Oh, it's over there. Oh, it's over there. This thing's backwards. So, thank you, Wayne. What else we have? All right, customer mailbox is empty, and we're going to wrap things up here today if no one has a question. Of course, after hours, we're off the air. Feel free to text us using Facebook or our webpage, motorsnorkel.com. And our CSRs are standing by if you want to call in now, or you can chat with them online. Me personally, I can't stand to call in. I always like chatting or doing email. But if you'd like to chat, that's great. Or email. Wait a minute, we got something else coming in.
Late breaking question.
Late breaking question.
So we'll go ahead and address this. This question comes by Facebook from Jeff. And Jeff wants to know, he says, well, I'll quote Jeff exactly, does the choke still operate if using gasoline? He says the adapter is installed, but I think he means once the motor snorkel is installed.
Well, he could be buying one of our, he could have gotten one of our, the kits that we're discontinuing that are on eBay. So he may have an adapter on there. So yeah, the adapter kits are made so the choke can still work with the adapter on it. If you're asking about the motor snorkel, got it in my pocket. I can show you. I always like to show this. The motor snorkel has a special rubber probe and some junk hanging off of it, and it goes up against the choke plate. And so when the choke plate closes, it pinches it like that. I never can show that. Oh, there you go. It can pinch it just like that. And then you go to start it, and when you let off the choke, it pops right back. And so it's made for that. It's impervious to gasoline, and it is very flexible down to very cold temperatures, very hot temperatures. So yes, the choke will work. The only caveat to that is if it's a automatic choke that has some auto chokes are real wimpy. Some have little motors to turn the choke, and they're too wimpy as well. If you have a pull choke with the black cap on it, we have a fix for that comes with the kit. So that will take care of it. So yes, very engine specific. There's only a few that have an issue with the choke. If it's real important to have the choke for gasoline, we do have fixes for that as well. There are little accessories that you can add, and you can talk to our CSRs or send us a text on that or an email, and we'll answer that question for you, how to overcome that if you really need to do that.
Dr. Hugh, I was going to suggest, if you wouldn't mind, you could demonstrate. I know we've done this on the show before, but maybe you could demonstrate the on our carburetor there, the choke operating with the snorkel in place.
Yeah, you can't see down that thing right now. Yeah, but let me get it on there. So the choke's open, as you can see. The choke's open right now. We slide it on there. I don't know if you just have to let me know if you can see it. And close the choke. Can you see it? Oh, here's light. Let there be light. All right, so you see, are we still lined up there? Okay, yeah, see how it's squashed? And so when you let off, there you go. Squashed, let off. Is that cool? Like that? All right, and that's all there is to that. I want my snorkel back. Thank you very much. All right. All right, so I guess that's it. We're going to wrap it up here. And again, please send your messages, questions. I'd love to hear what they are. And we will, like we did today, we'll put it in the customer mailbox. If it's a new question, we'll put it on the show next time around with the mailbox. So that'll wrap it up for us here today at Summersville at the U.S. Carb Clinic. And CSRs are standing by. And we are off the air. So have a great day.